A director of the U.S. spy agency says the country's national security is threatened by Iran, which he describes as the world's largest supporter of terrorism. CIA Director Mike Pompeo said that Tehran has gained enormous influence in recent years, stressing that its influence far outstrips where it was just 6 or 7 years ago. He pointed to close cooperation between Iran, Iraq, and Syria, which are fighting against foreign-backed terrorist groups, including Daesh. The CIA director said that, quote, Iran is now everywhere throughout the Middle East, adding that such influence makes the Islamic Republic a threat to U.S. national security. Pompeo also last year urged the U.S. Congress to counter Iran with more economic sanctions and internal dissent.
I have no first-hand information with.
And joining us out of Ontario now is Mr. Jason Unruhe, independent media personality and political commentator. Hello, Mr. Jason there. Thanks for joining us, sir. Now, tell me exactly how Iran is a threat to the U.S. national security.
Well, frankly, Iran is not a threat to U.S. national security. This is a complete fiction by the United States. They are the world's largest imperialist power, a position that is only even challenged to some degree by China. Frankly, the idea that Iran poses a danger to the United States is frankly nonsense. We've heard this kind of, complete nonsense for many years. Back in 2009, during the early years of the Obama administration, it was claimed that, and even during the Bush administration as well, it was claimed that Iran was only a few months away from obtaining weapons-grade uranium, and that there were going to be missiles aimed at the United States for frankly, a reason that was never actually specified. I mean, this is just frankly nonsense. If they're saying that Iran is striking ISIS, and it recently has, what's the threat here? We were being given this idea that an alliance of Iran, China, and North Korea is this big, terrible threat to the United States. But what evidence are we being given of that? It doesn't seem to make any sense.
And exactly, so where's the evidence with respect to this claim that we hear echoed out of Washington time and again? We just heard it from Pompeo once again, that Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism. I really want to know what premise this argument is based upon.
There is no premise. There's no basis for this claim whatsoever. It's simply facetious. The United States is the biggest sponsor of terrorism world. They have already been found giving weapons to ISIS. They fund the Al-Nusra Front, the FSA, and other organizations that are constantly carrying out tremendous human rights violations against sovereign states. I mean, they sell weapons to Saudi Arabia, which is currently carrying out a devastating humanitarian crisis against Yemen. This idea that Iran is the largest sponsor of state terror just completely flies in the face of all of history. Was it Iran that carried out a coup inside of the United States, or was it the other way around? Of course, it was the other way around. It's simply farcical to claim that Iran is a state sponsor of terrorism. Tremendous claims require tremendous evidence, and that is not what we are being showed.
So, Jason, what's Pompeo and the rest of these his cronies that keep echoing these sentiments? What do you think their end game is by trying to set this stage right now?
I believe that there is a big part of there's a very large scheme right now to whip up more hostility to justify further U.S. intervention in the Middle East. The Al-Nusra Front, the FSA, and Daesh in general are losing the battle inside of Syria, and they're frankly going to lose, and the rightful Syrian government is going to take over. This idea of accusing Iran of being involved in state sponsor of terror is just another measure that would be used to justify further sanctions against Iran, to try to pressure them into not supporting people in the region that do not bow to U.S. interests. A lot of this is just fear-mongering, the same kind of fear-mongering that we've been fed a long time to justify much of the U.S.'s foreign policy. It's a lie manufactured just to justify the U.S. Ramp up hostilities in the region.
Thank you, Jason. That was Mr. Jason Unruhe joining us out of Ontario, Canada, independent media personality and political commentator.